All right, so what we wanted to get to talk about today is Naomi Osaka. So we've referred to her in the past, before we've talked about her and sort of like how she's been pretty open about some of her mental struggles and about her performance, sort of reflecting that, right? So we wanted to talk about, especially like more recently, even she's had more to say. There was an article that we've seen in BBC, and there's other articles elsewhere too, having the same interview, talking about her. I think the article came out on 9/19, so just about a week
Yeah.
ago, September 19th, and it was sort of her talking about getting into her next tournament, which I think was the Pan Pacific Open, right? And
Correct.
so I think
Correct.
this is her like kind of almost like reintroduction back into competition, if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken. So, Mike, what do we know about this?
So just a little bit more pretext. She was a four-time Grand Slam winner for those that do not know, but she,
Very, very good. In other words, for those that don't play
yeah,
tennis.
she was really good, and basically she went through long bouts of depression after this for the four wins and or maybe even during it, to be honest.
True.
And she has dropped to 48th in the rankings in the world, I believe. So this was supposed to be a time where she said life is full of ups and downs, but and it's been more downs, but she feels pretty good where she is at now.
Interesting.
So it felt like everything was about to go well, like she's found herself, etc. Right? But healing from mental health issues, aka like depression, anxiety, it can be a tricky path. And sometimes when you heal, it's not linear. You can go back and forth sometimes, and it takes time.
That's an
So
amazing way to put that. I like that you said it that way. Yeah, it's it may not necessarily be point A to point B, getting better, right? You may like go through phases and things like that. It could be recurrent, right? And I think it is very, very, very important to emphasize that she is extremely young, right? Like,
right.
just like for most of our channel or the people that are interested in sports or esports, right? A
Mm-hmm.
lot of this stuff, competitors and competitions start when you're extremely young. She's only 24
Yeah.
right now, so this could be really, really taking a toll on her
Mm-hmm.
in that sense, especially because she doesn't have a lot of life experience yet so far, right? So
Right.
as far as that goes, that may
I f-
not be something that she can draw on any like a lot of more previous stuff. She just doesn't have that experience yet, you know.
Right. And she's building that experience, and hopefully she's like slowly figuring out her, to be honest, like the whole
That's fair.
feeling of like who I am and like what do I need. And maybe when she like if I did a quick self-disclosure, it's like once you figure all that out, you feel like you're unlocked, like or like you reach like a different level. It's kind of crazy. We'll go more into that a little bit later. But the I guess the sad part kind of that we found out recently is that in this Pan Pacific Open, Naomi Osaka actually withdrew in the second
Oh,
round.
really?
She,
Okay.
yeah, and I mean, like we said, it's not linear, right? She thought she was good, and she said she left due to an undisclosed illness, I
Right.
believe. Is
Okay.
that right?
I
Um,
think so. So what it says right here, she didn't specify the illness, and before the tournament, she
right.
did say she was fit and healthy. So we don't really
hmm
know. I think she's had an abdominal injury in the past.
And then she's also had an Achilles injury, and she lost in three of the last tournaments in the first round that she's competed in. Sometimes there's a mind body disconnection, and that can lead to injuries also.
Okay.
That's another subject that I believe we're going to go on a little bit later. But I guess with Naomi, you got to root for her so that she's working on taking that time for herself to figure herself out, even though she's like one of the top competitors, similar to like Simone Biles, right?
Oh,
She doesn't
right.
want to keep getting injured again, right?
No,
Like
absolutely.
some people don't know, but there's a lot of these old athletes back in the day that they sacrificed their bodies, and then could not their bodies gave up on them very early ages. Uh due to whatever their lifestyle or the environment that they were in previously. Uh, but Naomi's trying to. She's trying to figure everything out, and I'm rooting for her. I hope she can come back better than ever and just compete with everybody. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, totally. I would completely echo those statements, right? And like it's possible that people, and I don't know. So like not that I'm like doubting her or anything like this, or like I just wanted to get more into sort of like her mentality and things like this. But do you think that like considering that she's kind of used to success and all this stuff and being really good, do you think that perhaps like do you think any of this what's I'm sure it's feeding into itself because that's exactly how these things work, but do you
Yeah.
think like that's like her not performing well is leading to her mood or like her feeling down and depression or whatever, right? Like if
I
you're losing at something you would feel down, right? So
Yeah. I can actually put this could be I can even change it to a gaming thing to be honest with that.
yeah.
Like let's say you were so naturally talented, maybe not even naturally talented. You're just like really
You're
good
just
at
used to
whatever it
success,
may
yeah,
be.
like
Yeah.
yeah.
So you're always winning, right?
Hmm.
And even when you got to the pros, you were winning, right?
Hmm.
Um, but once see you started to validate your success off of the results
Right.
more often rather than what you know is true. Like whether you practice all this, I can hit this shot, I can do this, I can do all of this, right?
Hmm.
But once that self doubt creeps in, because like now you're not winning, right? So the
Right.
validation of the results is no longer there. And now, how do you validate yourself,
Wow.
right?
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
like so like almost like trusting the process even when the results don't show, right, I guess, or
right.
whatever. But
Yeah, exactly. I think you and I have talked about this before that there's some like, well, Adu and I are NBA fans, so we could easily talk about this, but there are people like Steph Curry, household name, Damian Lillard. These guys were not highly recruited coming out of high school, but they are technicians of the game. They're shooters. They worked on small things of their game, and now they're like household names, right? They are people who kept working at their craft. So even if they got hurt or whatever, they were able to come back from it because they had that much confidence in what they've practiced, right? Not everybody's built that way, or have they gone through that struggle, right? Because
right.
we've seen people who were like super immensely athletically talented and they kind of for lack of better words that I can think of right now, crap out when they reach the
Yeah, they just
NBA.
don't pan out. In other words, the word that they use for drafts is like busts, right?
Oh
You
yeah,
call
yeah, yeah, yeah. So there's that, and I mean, it's unfortunate, but like sometimes they say, uh, when you keep working through, I don't like this wording. I'm forgetting the better way to think about this, but the more struggles you go through, the stronger you're built. Uh, it has some
pressure makes diamonds, right?
Yeah, it does have some truth to it, but then there's some stuff that we're about to talk about in a bit that should go along with that statement.
Okay. Yeah, because I was kind of
Um,
wondering whether it's almost like this is a like sort of devil's advocate here, but maybe perhaps it's more of a like a defense mechanism in the sense that like she's like I'm not getting the results, and so she's like almost like creating I don't like excuses that she's not succeeding or like she's having
mhm,
or she's like pulling out because she's lost her confidence in herself or like she sees that as if not like basically not winning in the whole thing is would be
right,
considered failure for her, right? And she's almost like I don't know, like don't even go to the start line if you don't think you can win the whole thing. Maybe
right.
I have no idea. It's all speculation, but do you think there's possibly anything like that going on in her head right now?
Possible, but now that you mentioned certain speculations, this is also speculation. For those that don't know, like there was the previous like dominant female tennis player was
Hmm.
Serena Williams, and I think when Osaka was coming up, this is the twilight years of Serena, right?
Hmm.
But Naomi beat her,
Hmm.
and Serena actually had like a pretty like rude. I don't remember if it was an outburst or like I know it was rude treatment toward Naomi,
Hmm.
and Serena was supposed to be like
So
Naomi's
she
like
didn't take it
role
well.
model, or like yeah, like who she like idolized, maybe not
Mhm.
idolized, but like respected immensely, right? And that could have played something too, right? Because like in the business world, sometimes too,
They say don't meet your
sometimes
heroes, right?
yeah. Because sometimes your heroes might be pretty cool, but sometimes those heroes, like when you get to know them, they are technically human too, and sometimes
hmm
humans can make different decisions than you think they would.
Yeah, it's very possible that I don't know. So I was just wanting to see exactly what you thought about this situation and everything. And it's just something that's occurred relatively recently, so we thought we'd give it a little bit of a talk and maybe have some conversation about what exactly is going on in her head. Unfortunate that she's unable to proceed in this particular tournament. I'm sure we'll see more of her, and then we might be able to have more updates and more conversations about sort of like her progress or whatever exactly is going to happen with
Yeah,
her, right? Because who knows? She could get a lot better all of a sudden, or she could even it's possible she could get even worse, right? So we'll
yeah.
see. We'll see how she goes, right? We'd love to see people succeed and to overcome a lot of like their personal interpersonal demons, right? So
All
perhaps
right.
this is something that'll is still developing, and we'll talk about this more in the future. Mike, are you tilted?
I'm always tilted. Adu, are you tilted?
I am always tilted, constantly tilted.